And November 15th is a very important day for Cuban people, as the students return to in-person activities after being vaccinated. Also, the island resumes tourism and the borders reopening. However, November 15th is also the date that opposition and anti-revolutionary groups chose to conduct a march and possible destabilizing actions. It is, without no doubts, a complex day and scenario in the island. To dialogue on the matter and offer his analysis, we have the honor to receive Rene Gonzalez, pilot, author, political analyst, and homeland hero for all the Cubans. Be welcome, Rene.
Have a good day, and well, I'm happy to be here. My best to you and to all the audience.
So thank you for your presence. Now we have a first question to you. As we have been reporting, Cuba saw violent protests on July 11th and in some way ignited new actions like the ones that are called for today. There are summoning the population for a so-called Pacific March. But what's really behind this announcement?
Well, this is one of the so many tricks on the arsenal of attacks against Cuba by the U.S. government. I remember when I was in the United States infiltrating those terrorist groups, all of them claimed to be pacifists. So this is nothing new. And as usual, they need a victim who they later can claim to defend by applying this responsibility to protect concept that they had devised for a few years already. So this is nothing new. That's the way they operate. Is having somebody who might claim to be victimized, in this case by the Cuban government, so as to allow then the U.S. government to, as we know, claim the necessity to come and save the poor people who are trying to defend democracy in the country, and so on and so much. That's how they work. We have to be prepared for it, and as a matter of fact, I believe we are prepared for it.
Yeah, actually, this is nothing new, as you were saying, and also maybe it's nothing new what I'm going to ask you right now, but it has called the attention of many Cubans who live abroad and Cuba friends also, how these groups use several of the traditional symbols in this island, like the white color and specifically the white rose, that comes from the verses of our national hero, Jose Marti. Are they trying to subvert these symbols, and why to use them in their campaign?
Well, I believe one of the goals of these people is to sow confusion. Of course, those are symbols which are cherished by the Cuban people, especially the young Cubans, and they aspire to confuse some people with their use of those symbols, with speech who seems to be from the left. They mix all those symbols and this speech with some claims as to representing the aspirations and the worries of the common people. That's all part of how they try to attract elements from the population who might be maybe disgruntled for anything, or who are living through different times, as we all know, and it's part of this psychological warfare, which so well they have practiced for so many years against any country which goes against the will of the U.S. government. Again, it's nothing new. It's on all of the manuals from the CIA and from the destabilization tools that they use, and that's also part of it. We have to be aware they're using people who are young. I was watching yesterday some pictures, and even from the way they dress, the way they look, they try to appeal to the youngest Cubans in the hopes of being able to confuse them after the old generations, which has a more political experience. We have a different experience of life, like myself. had. And so this is part of their efforts to, and their aspirations to give a coup de grace to the revolution once the older generations are no longer in the country.
Yeah, indeed, these are old strategies. This is an old dog with a new collar, is what we say. Now, we have stated many times that these groups use a soft kill strategy with a narrative of discontent and popular outrage. Which are the means and platforms they use to spread their messages?
Well, nowadays, and after they developed these color revolutions, and we have to understand that the imperialism is good at learning from their experiences, and the color revolutions were successful in Eastern Europe mostly, and some other places in the world, because they were able to mobilize a critical mass of people so as to be able to then sell to the rest of the world the story that the whole population is revolting, etc., etc. I mean, they don't need nowadays to have an entire population revolting against the government to overthrow it. They just need a critical mass which can present representing the rest of the population, and the media will do the rest. That's how they are working nowadays. They try this in Cuba anytime they feel that Cuba is weak enough for their purposes, and that's what they're trying to do again. They underestimate the resilience of the Cuban people and our capacity to live through difficult times. And in their view, this is the moment that they aspire to use to create that scenario which would allow them to probably intervene in Cuba or convince the rest of the world that Cuba is a failed, like they said, a failed government, etc. And that's what they're trying to do now. They know that there is not much time. I mean, we have been able to overcome the pandemic. Our vaccines are working fine. We might end up being the first country to vaccinate the whole population in the world. And they know that they don't have too much time available, so they're trying to make the very use of the time they have.
Yes, those are the attacks in social media and maybe other platforms. But as part of the media attacks, foreign outlets said the Cuban government have sustained a siege and a violent approach against these groups. Is this true, and how the Cuban people responded to this situation?
Well, the way I see it, the 11th of July took us by surprise. We cannot deny that. And it was a complex situation. I remember when the president went to San Antonio, he went there to talk to the people. He was able to diffuse the situation by talking to the people. And then when he was back to Havana, there was already violence all over the place, in different places in Cuba. And well, I believe the government and the Cuban people had to react in a hurry to prevent an escalation of the situation. And of course, I believe that in such a situation, some mishandling of force might happen. It was never to the level that we see everywhere in the world, which is interesting, no? Because if the U.S. government was so worried about the handling of the police, he would have a lot of places to complain about. But well, they were only focusing in Cuba. I believe that this time around we are better prepared for that. We learned the lesson, and we had the ability to mobilize the population, and especially to inform the population. I mean, now the Cuban population is aware of what's at stake, of who is behind it, and that's the response we've seen in these last days from youth and people in general who are supporting the revolution and know what to do in this scenario.
So, Rene, after all we have commented here, and for the knowledge of Cubans who live abroad, Cuban-friendly organizations, and all the people who watches us that is interested in this matter, we can say Cuba is in calm. No violence, no disturbances, nothing. What is this?
Yes, as I said, I believe that probably even some of the people who went to the streets on 11th of July later thought it over and understood that whomever was behind these events wasn't precisely trying to defend their interest or trying to represent their aspiration and their anguishes. The way we see it, many people right after the 11th of July demobilized and isolated themselves from these events. Plus the fact that I believe that the Cuban government this time around has been able to apply a preventive approach to these events today. So that's the result of that preventive approach. And I believe that it's been a beautiful day. We are seeing all the kids, the mostly white, on the streets, going to the schools, and the parents are very happy to see the kids back studying again. And again, I believe that this time around, Cuba also learned the lesson. They are not the only ones who can learn from the experience. We also are able to learn, and we learned the lesson from 11th of July, and this preventive approach has given these results.
Yes, indeed. We can trust in our system, we can trust in our government, but we have to stay alert. So, Rene, we thank you for your presence here from the South and with teleSUR English.
Thank you.